Welcome, everybody. This is our press conference introducing our new service offering called KMxLive. We're excited that you could join us today. We do have the attendance roster turned off for participants at the request of several of our participants. If you have something that you would like to say in the public chat, just remember that will show up in the recording. We recommend that if you have a question, that you would like to ask, that you go ahead and either select the person speaking that could best answer it, or whoever you want from the list of moderators that you have up on the far left-hand side of your screen, and ask the question using the private chat feature. If you have any questions about how the interface operates, AJ and Mike are both here to help you, and I'll be passing the baton to them here a little further on in the show. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we'd like to talk about is the unparalleled capabilities that we built into the new KMxLive.com system. Now, we're all familiar with Zoom, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, and products like that. They have basic meeting room features that have audio, video, whiteboard, slides, chat, polling, the things that you would need to hold a virtual conference or business meeting or sales meeting. But they weren't really designed for what we would call virtual education or virtual training. And one of their significant fallbacks is their inability to support mobile devices for all the features that they offer. So a lot of the mobile device users get some portion of the presentation or some portion of the capabilities, but they don't achieve all the capabilities that they offer to the desktop and laptop users. This has been a big problem, especially in the education marketplace, where so many of the students are participating via tablet or some other mobile device. With KMxLive, we've obviously made sure that that isn't going to be an issue. The Moderator Dashboard that we've built is quite extensive. We're going to be covering it a little bit later on, and it provides not only information about the participants' scores and progress, but it also lets you know if they're actually paying attention. It lets you know how they're doing on anything that you've currently got in front of them. If they're having problems or struggling with a simulation, if they're struggling with an e-learning lesson or an exam, you will know that through the Moderator Dashboard, because it becomes very specific when you have something in front of the participant or student to do. Now, KMxLive allows you to deliver exams, surveys, games, simulations, e-learning lessons, social media presentations, social media sites. All of these things we'll be looking at a little bit here today. We'll reserve some time at the end if there's anybody that would like to see a more extensive demonstration of any of those capabilities. But again, these are unique to KMxLive. These are not things that are offered by any of the major competitors in the market right now. We also architected the solution to launch from and record progress to any learning management system that conforms to the SCORM standard, the Shareable Content Object Reference Model standard. Now, that's important because almost every educational institution and almost every association, almost every corporation has a learning management system. Now, this may not be the case in some of the K-12 schools, but a lot of the K-12 schools are operating off learning platforms that do support the SCORM standard. They just don't use a lot of the SCORM features. So as long as your platform supports the SCORM standard, not only will KMxLive launch from your learning management platform, it will record all the individual student progress, scores, completion, results, the suspend data, and other elements that are necessary to be able to manage student participation, student progress, and student performance. We also have the ability with KMxLive to not launch from a learning management system like most of you did today, where you're launching from an email link, or you're launching from a link that was provided to you on a website or via LinkedIn. So again, we've got lots of ways to get into the system, and there's lots of ways that the system can record. But if you do come in from a link like most of you did today, the scores and records are being recorded to KMxLive.com for the administrator of your system to be able to download and retrieve and run out. So again, you're not losing anything if you don't have a learning management system. It just makes it far more convenient if you do. We're also going to be covering proctored exams. We've got a unique capability where we're not only recording the webcam and audio like some of the competitive solutions that are out there, we also segregate all of the participants into isolation cubicles to where they can't hear, they can't see, any of the other participants or their actions or activities. They have no ability to chat or anything like that. And we're also monitoring to make sure they don't bring up any other windows on their screen at the time. At the same time, we're recording their screens so that we not only know if a window came up, we know what the window was. So these are things that should prevent cheating. Certainly should discourage any cheating activities because of the ease of getting caught. We also created within the system immersive on-demand replay capabilities. Now, a lot of the competitors have videos that come out after the live event has been conducted. But a lot of the features that were demonstrated during a presentation aren't included in the video. Now, I'm not going to go over the deficits and the things that are missing from Zoom, Teams, and WebEx, but none of them produce all of the elements that were delivered during a live event. Which is somewhat disheartening for, if you don't get the poll up on the screen, or you can't participate in the poll, or the poll is just somehow embedded in the video at the other end. That's not really useful for your on-demand participant. They're watching a video, and nobody's ever passed or failed a YouTube video. So what we wanted to be able to do is make sure that they could get all of the interactive elements that were delivered during the live event, but at the same time record their progress to their learning management system, or if they come in by email, be able to record those results to KMxLive, so you have a record of their participation, any tests they took, any answers that they gave to any questions that were provided, any simulations that were accomplished, etc. And you can also be able to have some certainty that the learning objectives were achieved if you have a proper scoring setup within your event. So this is, again, unique in the industry. Again, it will launch again from any learning management system. In fact, it's automatic for the learning management system users that could not participate in a live event. If the KMxLive administrator approves the distribution of the on-demand replay to those users, they automatically receive it without any other administrative actions. Let's talk a little bit about these advanced proctored exam capabilities. We've been in this business for a long time. Mike and I both worked for companies that produced the proctored exam type of technology and services in a previous life before KMSI was founded over 20 years ago. So we've got just a heck of a lot of experience in this arena. And what we wanted to be able to do was be able to create the exact environment that you would expect from any testing center. Now, when a student comes into a testing center, they're normally isolated into cubicles. They may have headsets put on just to make sure that they're not bothered by noise, or that somebody isn't shouting out, the answer to question number 3. We also wanted to be able to provide direct student supervision by allowing the moderators to go into any one of the cubicles, video, audio, at any time, and see what the student is seeing, see what the student is doing, and make sure that there isn't anything odd going on that could compromise the test, or could compromise the fact that the student themselves isn't participating in the exam as you had intended. So we're capturing the student audio, video, and workstation recordings live as they go. These are all recorded and preserved for you to review later on if you don't have the time to look at all of them, or you've got a large class of, say, 20 people, and you can't keep an eye on all 20 of them every minute. But again, having these audio and video and workstation recordings gives you the ability to go back and look if you do have questions about whether or not anything happened. We do support randomization with pool-based delivery so that you can protect your test item materials, and this randomization supports not only question randomization, but item randomization, and the ability to maintain the statistical analysis of the results through these randomizations is something we've been doing since the inception of the company 20 years ago. And these capabilities are extended in KMxLive. We do have some special requirements if you take advantage of these advanced features, where we would require you to actually purchase a room to do some of these advanced features. But most of these features are available with our basic pricing options. The extensive test item type options that we have available, again, multiple choice, true, false matching. We also have the ability for you to add media to your questions, and you can also have a graded simulation. And the graded simulations produce the same kind of grades that any other exam produces, and they're just as statistically significant and easy to analyze. So we'll look at a couple of those here in just a minute. So the next part of our presentation, we're going to do a couple of demonstrations. We're going to not show the moderator control screens or the moderator dashboard screens directly, because I've already taken attendance for the class, and everybody who didn't want their name showing up on the roster would show up on those dashboards. So we're going to use mock dashboards for the controls and dashboards, but everything else we'll be doing live. And the first thing I want to do is push out an exam to each of you. It's a very simple exam, so you can get the idea of what the student interaction would be with an exam through the KMxLive interface. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and push out our first element, which is a scored exam. This will take a few seconds to get out to everybody's workstations, and those that are moderators will be able to see how all of the participants are doing. We'll be able to see what question they're on, what question they've answered, the ability to actually stop and restart the exam if we need to, pause the exam if there needs to be some interjection, or the moderator needs to make some clarification on how the exam should be executed. These are all things that you can do within the scored exam environment. So only one question. Hopefully all of you aced it, because I already gave you the answer earlier. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and reset that. Looks like our class did extremely well on that exam. Pretty easy. It looks like we've got everybody passed. Okay, well, that's excellent. That's what you want to see as an instructor, is that everybody passed your first challenge. Now, the second thing that I wanted to show you, and again, these are short and sweet. These aren't meant to be extensive demonstrations of capabilities. I'm just trying to give you the flavor for what can be done in an interactive environment with KMxLive, is a skill exercise. So I'm going to send out a skill exercise on the backflow device. This is very short. And again, the moderator dashboard for this will come up. This was developed in KMx Author. All KMx Author developed materials will actually fully integrate with KMxLive. I see we have one participant off to the races already, has already made it through to a pass status. That was very quick. I'm not, again, going to be naming names because I've been asked not to, but there you have it. We've got 3 that have made it through now. So that's pretty exciting. We have one person that did not know the difference between a Phillips and a slot screwdriver. But that's to be forgiven. Now, you can pass this course if you pass any one of the elements. So you're all going to pass, because everybody passed the first exam. I made the passing score for this event only 20%, assuming that you would be able to at least pass that exam. And I've weighted all of the items equally. So again, as long as you were able to get through the first exam, then you're good to go. So now everybody's made it through the backflow device simulation. Again, that was short and sweet, but I think you get the idea how a simulation can be put up in front of a student to verify their ability to actually follow a procedure, to recognize and identify tools, to select the right next step, to be able to do something mechanical, something electrical, something on a screen. For example, if it's some kind of screen process that they have to go through to set up a new account, or help one of your customers through your customer service system, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this. Again, everybody did quite well on that. That's exciting. Okay, we should be back to the room for most of you. Now, the next thing I'm going to push up is a competitive game. This one actually has 3 questions to it. If you miss one question, you're out. There's a short little video in the front. Again, we're trying to give you an example of what you can do, with KMxLive the different types of content that you can push. This is just an exam that has been converted into a competitive game with our KMx games system. So enjoy the video, enjoy the show. And again, I will be monitoring to see how each of you are doing. And I may stop the event midstream and interject.
Are you ready to take your chances in the hot seat? If so, you will be presented with a question and multiple choice answers. Answer correctly and you'll earn prize points while moving on to the next question. Answer incorrectly and your time in the hot seat is finished.
I know the video.
If you are stuck on a question, you have 2 lifelines to help you progress, but don't take too long. The winner will be determined by the most prize points and best time. Are you ready? Let's play Who Wants to Be Rich? Your choices have been narrowed down to the items highlighted in orange. Your answer is correct.
Okay, it looks like everybody's paused after question number 1. I think you're getting the idea of the theme of some of the questions that I put in front of you. Those were covered in the first 2 slides that we went through. I didn't want to be delivering questions to you that didn't have that you didn't know the answer to. So again, this also gives you the ability to see that I can stop the event at any point as a moderator. I can restart it, and that's what I'm going to do here. Now is go ahead and restart it, let you finish up, and we'll see if we can get a winner out of this.
I think you should select the answers highlighted in green. Your answer is correct.
When you do get to the end, the leaderboard will be only you at this point, plus one of our moderators that is participating as a student. So I'm going to try and keep the privacy information out of our recording as we've been requested to do.
Your answer is correct. Let's see how you did.
Okay. Looks like we have a winner, and it's one of our moderators. I did not share the answers to these in advance, but they were kind of self-evident, I think. And we did have 1, 2, 3 people that missed one question and were dropped out early. Everybody else got to the $1 million prize level. AJ Evanish got there first. So with the least number of lifelines used, it looks like a couple of people experimented with their lifelines. So again, you get the idea of how a scored game can go. I'll reset that. And again, the on-demand students are going to get the exact same experience here. Which is kind of cool because they can actually get a score. They can actually get on the leaderboard. They can, get through this and get credit for the course. Now, what I would like to do is move forward here a little bit into the display that we set up to the moderator controls. I was going to show these today, but the moderator controls for this is a game interface that we've got up here on the slide, and the moderator controls let me pause at a question. I know what the next question is. I could pause way in advance. So if it's a 10-question quiz and I want it to pause at question 8, we're only on question 2. I know where we're at, and I can do that. I can reload the event. I can also repush the event. to the participants if we need to restart it for some reason. The other thing that you've got is how many correct answers, what their score is, who's got the top prize, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, how much time they've spent, what question they're currently on, and whether they're actively participating, which is always nice to know. So again, during an event like a live game like we just played, you get a little bit different control interface than you do during the normal prosecution of slides on the screen. I'll show you that here in just a second as we move forward. But before I do, I would like to push an e-learning lesson from a third party. There's a partner of ours, ViewBiz, but it wouldn't matter if it was Skillsoft or if it was any of the major e-learning providers, or if you developed it in Articulate or some third-party authoring tool that produces SCORM output. These will all play within the KMxLive environment without any issues. But one advantage to using KMx Author is it's tightly integrated with that interface that I just showed you a minute ago, and it allows you a whole lot more granular control over the lesson. So if you do develop an e-learning lesson with KMx Author, you've got the ability to have very discrete control and see where everybody is. But the problem with doing that for any e-learning lesson is that not all e-learning lesson providers or tools like Articulate, for example, give you all the data you need to be able to put that information on the screen. So again, if you do use KMx Author, which is free at KMxDirect.com, then you get a little more granular data back out of the dashboard, because the tool provides more granular data. So I'm going to go ahead and push this e-learning lesson out to you. I'm not going to let it go through the whole thing. We're already 21 minutes into this presentation, but I did want to give you guys an opportunity to see what a third-party lesson would look like and be able to go through it. This does have audio, so I'll be quiet for a little bit. I'll let you play with it.
Introduction. The COVID-19 pandemic upended life as we knew it, shuttering non-essential business and compelling others to opt for a virtual work model. Now, governments are taking steps toward reopening their economies. As employees return to work, organizations in every sector need to have comprehensive plans in place, evaluating and controlling risks associated with COVID-19. SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19. The most recently discovered coronavirus is called Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2, or SARS-CoV-2. This virus causes coronavirus disease, COVID-19. Coronaviruses are a lot.
Okay, everybody should be back in the room. It looks like everybody got pretty far in that. I'm kind of surprised. You guys blazed right through that, but you get the idea. Now, I don't know if I would normally push something that long, but let's say that I'm a K-12 instructor and I've got a really great lesson I want the students to go through that is pertinent to the subject matter that I happen to be presenting or am responsible for teaching that day. This can give the instructor quite a good break. If you know that it's an hour-long lesson and you push it, you can watch and see how the students are doing, and you can go, take a break, get some water, refresh yourself if you need to, and come back, and the students will still be in it, and the system is monitoring them while you're away. So if the students aren't paying attention or they're not doing it, their participation and attention score is going to start to drop, which is the next screen I'm going to show you here, which is the Moderator Dashboard. When you come back into the room from an event, this is one of the things that the moderator can toggle to, is the Moderator Dashboard. The Moderator Dashboard shows the name, the score, the attention percent, and that means, is the student looking at what you've got in front of them, or are they looking at Facebook or YouTube videos, or not even participating? You'll be able to tell that with the attention percent factor. You can tell how complete they are in any event that you've got pushed, their current status, whether they failed or are about to fail. You can pretty easily determine that, and you also get their location and their role. Now, this is unique in the industry. Now, I know that one of our competitors has a similar attention factor, but it's a whole lot different when you've got something in front of the student that they have to actually do. So when you compare us to the competitor I'm speaking of, which happens to be Zoom, they've got an attention factor as well, but they don't have the students doing anything. The students are just watching the presenter present and slides, and okay, so that's handy, I guess, to have some kind of attention meter on that. But with KMxLive, you're also monitoring whether they're actually doing anything, whether they're doing what you wanted them to do, whether they're answering the questions correctly, completing the simulation, participating in the survey, etc. These are all things that are fairly important. So I think we've got a pretty huge lead there when you look at that. Now, the last thing I'm going to push out to you is a social media demonstration. It's got 3 screens to it. It's just meant to show you what you can do with social media. On the first one, you're going to have Facebook and a LinkedIn article that have been embedded using KMx Author, which again is free. We're not charging you for the tools necessary to leverage KMxLive. So again, this was all done. This social media demonstration is just 3 screens done in KMx Author. The second one is a screen out of an e-learning course that we have called National Treasure Hunt. The third screen is kind of a neat thing that I like to do with classes. I was going to put the geolocation map up for everyone so you could see where everybody else was that participated in today's event. But again, the privacy issues with the recording and at the request of 2 of our participants, I'm not going to be pushing that participant map up to you all. And what we've replaced it with is the ability to geolocate from your current location to a location you might want the participant to go to, like your next classes in Building C, or the training center is at this address. The address that we've geolocated to is our corporate headquarters, 839 Elkridge Landing Road. So again, when you look at this and you go through this, and again, I have the dashboard up, I'll know who's doing it, I'll know what screen you're on, I'll know what you clicked on, I'll know if you got the one question right, which is scored, by the way, in this next event. So have a little fun with this, just to get an idea and a flavor of how you can start to integrate social media elements into your learning environment. And this is especially useful.
We are excited to announce our new e-learning authoring system, KMx Author, built from scratch with HTML5 technology.
Now, the one thing on the last screen of that, if you did not allow Google to know your current location, then you would have had to click on it to be able to have Google tell you how to get from point A to point B. But if you had previously allowed Google to know your location, or your computer to provide Google with your location, then it would have automatically mapped out your route. I'm not going to go through and look at each one of your setups to see how that went. But again, it's just an idea of what you can do with social media elements within a presentation like this that's engaging and keeps the student participants involved, especially when you're dealing with people with short attention spans, like 5th graders and 6th graders, as we probably all know from personal experience if you have kids. Mike, I'm sure, could probably tell us more about that than anybody in the room, because he's got more kids than anybody I've ever known. We'll just move along with that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and reset that one. Looks like everybody's made it all the way through to the last slide. And remarkably, everybody but one person answered the question correctly. So that's good to know. So, okay, so we've got some pretty high scores here for our class. We've covered quite a bit of ground. I'm going to go ahead and toggle the display back And I am going to pass the baton to Mr. AJ Evanish, who's going to discuss our room configurations.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Jack mentioned, my name is AJ Evanish, and I'm a project engineer here at KMSI, and have been heavily involved in the KMxLive project. So KMxLive offers 3 different room configurations. We have conference room, training room, and testing room. Each room offers much of the same virtual meeting room features, including chat, video, audio, screen sharing, emojis, multi-user whiteboard, a lot of the functions that we've been showing you up to this point. But unlike virtual meeting room technologies, KMxLive rooms allow moderators to push interactive content and exams, which you've all been able to experience. Here's how the rooms vary. So conference room is really a good solution for large-scale training and education events. It provides up to 100 seats with audio and up to 5 active webcams. Training room provides 20 seats with audio and 20 active webcams. So it's a great solution for collaborative and interactive events. And then lastly, we have testing room, which provides 20 virtual cubicles, with audio, webcam, and screen recording. Jack pointed this out earlier, but just to clarify, each cubicle participant can record audio, webcam, and screen sharing, and that's to ensure that testing protocols are followed. So testing room is designed to meet all requirements for high-stakes testing, certification, and licensing programs. All right, let me change the slide here. So all KMxLive events are set up through an easy-to-use administrative console. Navigation is broken up into, I'd say, 3 key categories: account management, event creation, and then the event calendar, where you can review existing and prior events. Now, there's always a help icon available as well, and that includes a pretty extensive user guide. Creating a new event is really easy, and we use a top-down style approach, which organizes event entries in a simple fashion, and that's just to make sure that users can get up and running in a short amount of time. So to create an event, you'd first enter some primary event information, such as your start and end date, title, and a description. Then you'll select one of the rooms that I discussed on the previous slide, and then you can add any content you'd like to push during your event. Now, keep in mind that events don't require that you push content. However, it's a key differentiator between KMxLive and the competition. Now, once that's completed, you can then download a SCORM zip for upload into your own LMS. I'm going to make a little plug here and say, well, keep in mind that KMSI also offers our own LMS, which is called KMx. So if you'd like to learn more about that, I'd suggest visiting our website at www.kmsi.com. Now, the zip that's produced is fully SCORM conformant, so you can load it into your LMS just like any standard SCORM zip. Now you can leverage your own LMS to enroll users. So at the event start, users can then access the event by launching the course that you generated with the zip file. KMxLive then records participant progress, scores, session times, and completion results to your LMS with 0 integration expense. Now, that said, some may be wondering, well, what if I don't have an LMS, or I have individuals that I'd like to invite that don't have LMS access? Well, that's not a problem either, as KMxLive includes an option to invite participants via email. So email participants have the same experience as LMS participants. The only difference is that completion data isn't being sent to a learning management system. Now, the good news, though, is that KMxLive includes extensive reporting, so you can still track participant completion details, exam response data, and more. Now, once an event is completed, you then have the option to publish the event for attendee review or enable on-demand access to an unlimited number of users. What's great is that on-demand users receive the full experience of live attendees, including the ability to interact with content delivered during the event. So for any of those of you in the future that are watching this recording, well, you've already recognized that, as you've noticed, you've been able to interact with all of the content that's been pushed. So it's like that you are actually at the live event, which is pretty cool. That being said, I encourage you to visit www.kmxlive.com. Go ahead and complete the registration so you can start leveraging this new technology today. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to our CTO, Mr. Mike Minix.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike, our Chief Technology Officer at KMSI, and glad to be with you here this afternoon. we're very proud of our technical architecture and infrastructure and our ability to use that to deliver a consistent and very scalable and reliable user experience. With 20 odd years of hosting learning technologies and delivering them to our customers, we've got a pretty good idea what it takes. We deliver online training, both live and e-learning, asynchronous training to millions of end users a year. We host our operations with our partners at Microsoft Azure and their cloud infrastructure, which gives us some great benefits for responding quickly, elastically to scale up when customers are busy using the site, and scale back down to keep costs under control when utilization is low. And those patterns we can respond, minute by minute, hour by hour, as well as seasonally and across longer time scales to match that to do it. But it gives us just a tremendous reliable service delivery through that infrastructure. Scalability of KMx Enterprise, which makes up the backbone of the KMxLive service, is unprecedented in the industry and unmatched. We can support tens of thousands of simultaneous users and have done so almost every year. We have customers who hit concurrent peaks trying to get large numbers of people through required training in a short window of time. We're ready for that, and we're ready for your program if you ever need that to do it. So I'll be available here towards the end of the presentation if people have questions and want to get into the technical guts of all this and how we do it. I could go on for hours and many, many slides getting into the gory details, and Jack cut all that out and said I couldn't talk that long. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this back to Jack to wrap up, and look forward to hearing from some of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, AJ. Let's talk about how much all this costs. Well, right now, at least for now, your first 20 event credits are free because we really want to get customers using the system. We're obviously providing access to all of our KMx Enterprise and KMx ASP clients at some level. And for most of those, clients, they've been with us a while, so they're pretty used to what we're offering. And the price points here on the KMxLive.com site are roughly equivalent, although our larger clients do get additional features that we don't offer on KMxLive.com. We haven't covered any of those features in today's presentation, and they're kind of a carrot that we'll put out there to any client using KMxLive.com if the features look like there's something that a very large organization could use. And we can discuss those offline or during the Q&A session at the end. So the basis of pricing here is $1 for each event credit. An event credit is 1 hour of an event. Like today's event is 1 hour. And if we're using a 20-seat training room, then we're consuming 1 credit per hour. If we're using a much larger conference room, which holds 100 people, then we'd be consuming 2 credits per hour. And testing room, which requires, a lot of bandwidth and a lot of, recordings, going on, because we're recording all the webcams, we're recording all the screen shares, recording all the audio, et cetera, of every student that's in a cubicle individually. These are individual recordings. They're separate recordings, so you can go back and review them later. That's also 2 event credits per hour. Okay, so just to get an idea of what the pricing looks like. We do offer annual room purchase, so if you're going to be using KMxLive.com, give it to your instructors at a tech school, or maybe your professors at a university. You could give each professor their own room. You could give each teacher at a K-12 school their own room, or each instructor at your technical or training school or your corporation their own room with an annual purchase agreement. Now, the room purchase lets you schedule unlimited events in the room. The purchase rooms are pretty much like a physical room, to where you can't have 2 classes going on in the same room at the same time. But that's something you can work through. There's different pricing for each level of the rooms. The lowest cost, obviously, is our 20-seat training room, and the highest cost is our testing room. So you can look at those at KMxLive.com. Then the last pricing option that we have is storage subscriptions, which enables on-demand replay of recorded events to an unlimited audience. Now, this isn't like Zoom or WebEx or Microsoft Teams, where you're distributing a video link. This isn't a YouTube video that's coming out. This is a real e-learning course that the participants can take. They can pass the exam or fail the exam. They can participate in the games, or they can participate in the simulations. They can do all the things that the live participants were able to do during the event that kept them not only engaged and occupied, but allowed you to measure whether or not they had achieved the objectives of the training that you set out to achieve. So these are important things. So these storage subscriptions that we offer let you take it to the world. You can provide a link and let other people see and take your course, which is kind of neat. So you've recorded it once, and now you can have people retake it, and they're not just taking a YouTube video, they're actually achieving a score, getting a certificate of completion. It's being recorded to your LMS if you've loaded it into your LMS. These are all things that come with the storage subscription for your much, much larger audience. And that would be really great for an association. Let's say you have an annual conference and you've got, some room limitations, and only 200 people could get into one room, but maybe another 500 wanted to see the presentation. Now, with the storage subscription, not only can they see the presentation, they can participate in the presentation. They can be part of the audience. They can answer the questions with the rest of the crowd. They can participate and, be heard, and make it really interactive. So these are things that we've tried to accomplish with KMxLive through the storage subscription model. So that leads us to our summary and discussion. A couple of points I'd like to just make real quick before I open it up to questions. If you have questions, you can ask me directly by clicking on my link on the far left-hand side and asking the question via the private chat room. If you want everybody in the world to see it, you can put it in the public chat room. Or if you got a specific question for AJ or Mike, where you want to cover, the user interface, or how user-friendly this is with AJ, or the infrastructure and how scalable and what the backbone of this thing looks like with Mike, feel free to ask those questions, with the private chat. If either Mike or AJ think it's something that would be good for the rest of the audience to hear, I'm sure that they'll pipe in, because they're both on camera on the microphone. So with that, I do want to point out that unlike virtual meeting room technologies, KMx lets you do deliverable or measurable interactive training with your participants. You can really measure whether or not they're comprehending and can do what it is you intended them to be able to do at the completion of your training. The moderators are provided with the dashboard that lets you know real time what's going on, their attention, their score, their role, their location, their progress. All of the things that are important for an instructor to know, whether he's lost his audience, he's got his audience's attention, whether or not they're comprehending the materials, whether he needs to back up or she needs to back up and recover some things because everybody missed question 2. These are the kind of things that are important in an instructor-led class. I've taught thousands of classes in a classroom, and I understand how important it is for the moderator, instructor, professor to know where each student is and whether he's lost the class, or whether he can move a little faster because they've all got it already. On-demand users receive that full experience of the live attendees, including the ability to interact with those elements delivered during the event. And KMx records the participant progress and completion times to your LMS. You don't have to buy our LMS to get this to work. It'll work with your LMS as long as your LMS works with SCORM. We've tested it with all the major learning management systems, and we'll put it up on SCORM Cloud for you. If you want to create an event, you can do it yourself, actually. You can create an event on KMxLive.com simply by registering. You'll get your 20 free event credits. You download the SCORM package for the event that you've created. Run it up on SCORM Cloud before you load it into your LMS, just to make sure it works as you would intend it to work. We've already done all these things, obviously, so we're ultimately confident you're going to be super happy with the experience. If you don't have an LMS, You can use the generate by email for events. We've had a lot of customers, and I mean a lot of customers, that have people that are on their LMS, but they want people that aren't on their LMS. Maybe they're vendors, maybe they're suppliers, maybe they're franchises, etc. Maybe they're people that work for the company but want to work for the company, that aren't in the LMS, that need to be in that training session. So you can get them in there and have LMS users and non-LMS users in the same event. We have that going on here today. We have people that are LMS users and non-LMS users, because some people came in through our KMxDirect.com site today through the LMS. So again, these are all functions and options that you have. If you don't have the LMS, you still can take full advantage of the system. So there's our phone number and our email address. If you've got any additional questions that you think of after the event, go ahead and write them down. This replay will be available in probably about an hour if you want to share it with anybody in your organization. We're going to set it up for unlimited use, so that you won't run into any bottlenecks on using it at the other end. And I will give AJ and Mike a chance to pipe in on anything they think I might have forgot. AJ, you want to go first?
Yeah, I just want to encourage everybody currently here, or those that are watching this in the future, just to self-register at KMxLive.com. Again, we're offering some free event credits, so there's really no harm in giving it a shot and getting your feet wet. And then obviously use that opportunity to give us some feedback as well. We would appreciate you just taking the time to do that. And if you have any questions, obviously reach out and let us know.
Thanks, AJ. Mike, did you have anything you wanted to add?
If anybody wants to run bigger events than those summarized in our standard pricing that Jack went over, reach out to us by email or give us a call, and we'll discuss what it's going to take to get you there. We have the capability to scale larger, in some cases much larger, depending on your needs, than just what we're offering in these standard packages.
That's a good point. Thanks. Okay, well, I think I've got 3 questions here in the private chat that I need to answer. I don't know how AJ and Mike are doing with their questions, but these are questions, obviously, that whoever wrote them doesn't want us putting into the recording of this presentation. I see nothing in the public chat room to respond to, so I will give this just a few more seconds here, and see if any questions come into the public chat room. But with that, we're going to start wrapping this up. Thank you again for attending today. We appreciate it. And again, the same link that you clicked on to get into this event will have the replay available in about an hour. Now, if you try and click it too soon, it's going to tell you that the event has ended and the replay is not available yet. But I guarantee you that the replay will eventually be available. It just takes a little bit of time to process, because you can imagine what's going on behind the scenes. And the system's got to create a full e-learning course out of all of these things that I just pushed. I think I pushed 5 or 6 things during the course of this presentation today. And all that has to be wound together into an e-learning lesson that will play in any LMS. So again, the complexity, is pretty extreme on the back end. But the good news is you don't have to worry about any of that with KMxLive.com. So thank you again for participating, and go ahead and get registered and get using it. We'd love to hear your feedback. Mike, AJ, thank you so much for participating today, and we will talk again shortly.
Thanks, Jack.